going on, guys? It's your boy John the Liquidator coming back with another video, and it looked like Caitlin Clark has been targeted by A'ja Wilson and Time Magazine. Guys, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to New York. Let's get it. Let's go. Now, we got breaking news before we get into the content. Caitlin Clark looked like she has responded to A'ja Wilson and this whole Time Magazine situation about 30 seconds ago. She went to her Instagram to put this up, and I'm telling you right now, this is major. Caitlin Clark stated, playing others,
but it all came down to a single incredibly powerful Instagram post that sent absolute shockwaves rippling through the entire WNBA. You see, after A'ja Wilson's absolutely brutal verbal assault in her feature story for Time Magazine, Caitlin Clark responded, not with a press conference, not with a fiery tweet, but directly, yet with a brilliant subtlety, by declaring her mind was completely somewhere else on the golf course.
Unfortunately, did not make Time Magazine Athlete of the Year, probably because she was hurt and probably because she was last year's Time Magazine Athlete of the Year. Well, I'm here to tell you they decided to go with another WNBA star. That was A'ja Wilson. Now, A'ja Wilson, to me, shouldn't have got it, bro. She got help from the WNBA referees throughout the whole entire season. Everybody act like they forget that. I mean, they hella cheated against the Fever, pretty much causing Leah Boston to foul out the game, and ultimately, you know, that's how they won, you know, to go on and win a WNBA championship. Now, in this said magazine, she took a shot.
Playing other sports is so good for my mind and body, she wrote. And let me tell you, that was a crystal clear message that she wasn't even tripping off the drama or anything else going on around her. This move wasn't just some casual, off-the-cuff post about her hobbies. It was a masterclass in public relations, a defiant statement of intent, and a strategic sidestep from the swirling vortex of controversy, asserting her own peace and focus right in the middle of the raging storm that the entire league was watching unfold.
NBA died when Caitlin Clark Jr. took a hit this past season. Caitlin Clark only playing 13 games ultimately killed the WNBA viewership. Look at everybody's numbers. Like the numbers don't lie. Had Caitlin Clark balled out and had a spectacular season and the Indiana Fever won the WNBA championship, I believe the WNBA content will be at an all-time high. I mean, record-breaking high. Now, do that mean that the hype with the WNBA is over? No, it does not mean that. That means everything is on a standstill. The standstill means that we got to wait till next year to see how Caitlin Clark ball out and to see if Caitlin Clark's going to be the same Caitlin Clark we remember her to be at Iowa. Now, there was pictures going around yesterday.
So, how did we get here? Well, she definitely took a shot, and it was a big one. The whole firestorm really erupted when the incredible A'ja Wilson graced the cover of Time as its Athlete of the Year. And you have to understand, this is a title that many people fully anticipated would go to Clark herself, especially since she had held that very title the previous year. This incredibly coveted spotlight, this massive platform, became the stage for Wilson's scathing, unfiltered critique, where she directly and forcefully challenged the entire narrative surrounding Caitlin Clark's impact on the league.
The standstill meant that we got to wait till next year to see how Caitlin Clark ball out and to see if Caitlin Clark's going to be the same Caitlin Clark we remember her to be at Iowa. Now, there was pictures going around yesterday, which we reported on, of Caitlin Clark losing a bunch of weight. Caitlin Clark looking like the old Caitlin Clark she was at Iowa. She lost all the muscle. It's all gone. I believe the muscle could have contributed to Caitlin Clark getting hurt this year. But that's neither here or there. I don't want to keep beating a dead drum. Now, with that being said, we know Caitlin Clark was one of the most Googled people in the world when it comes to sports. I'm here to tell you, Caitlin Clark didn't even make the top 10 when it comes to the most.
What she said was so much more than a simple interview. It was a meticulously calculated strike, an undeniable verbal assault, aimed straight at the very heart of Clark's perceived influence and the credit she was receiving. The WNBA was already a powder keg of tension and simmering rivalries, and with those words, A'ja Wilson didn't just light the fuse, she threw a blowtorch on it. And you know, Wilson really didn't mince words, basically dismissing Caitlin Clark's monumental contribution as just a tiny 5% of the overall growth of the WNBA. In her interview, she shockingly claimed that the league was already on a significant upward trajectory with growing momentum long before Clark even set foot on a professional court, a statement that stands in direct and stark contradiction to the popular narrative that has been circulating everywhere.
You know, Caitlin Clark was one of the most Googled people in the world when it comes to sports. I'm here to tell you, Caitlin Clark didn't even make the top 10 when it comes to the most Googled people. Let's pull this up real quick before we get into this whole story about A'ja Wilson. So it was only one WNBA player that was on this Google list. And me personally, I didn't find this to be shocking. Only part I found it to be shocking was how far down she was. Now, this was the most Googled people in all of 2025. Now, I did a video on my other channel because
This bold assertion fundamentally worked to undermine the widespread, almost universally accepted belief that Clark's rookie season was a singular, unprecedented catalyst that single-handedly caused the league's recent explosive surge in popularity and viewership. It was a stark, almost dismissive reframing of recent history that left a lot of people scratching their heads.
7 on this list, which means that if you want to talk numbers, because I'm a numbers guy, I don't want to cheat the system. Never had cheated the system when it comes to my numbers or anything like that. I just think that just is bad, to cheat the system. But you can't cheat this system because Sophie Cunningham is the most popular WNBA player in the world. If we're going out this list right here, Sophie Cunningham is the most popular women's basketball player in the world. Now let's move on to the story of the hour. The story of the hour is, as soon as you type Caitlin Clark.
When you dig into the Time article, it actually deepened the controversy even further, stating that the way Clark has been embraced by fans and media has inadvertently created a toxic and racially divisive narrative. The piece positioned her as this singular figure who was supposedly responsible for salvaging a league whose very foundation, its heart and soul, had been painstakingly built over decades by a player base that is predominantly black. This incredibly pointed accusation suggested that Clark's sudden meteoric rise to superstardom was overshadowing, and in some ways even erasing, the hard-fought, hard-won legacies of so many veteran athletes who came before her. It implied there was this deeply uncomfortable racial undertone to the sheer scale of the adoration that Caitlin Clark was receiving from the public.
Sadie, let's read this. Her rocket ship run comes at in 2024, Caitlin Clark rookie season helped the WNBA hit a milestone TV and attendance figures, but Caitlin Clark embraced created a toxic, racially divisive narrative that she was almost singularly responsible for salvaging a league whose foundation had been built by mostly black player base. This storyline bothered Wilson in 2024, earned her third WNBA MVP and her second Olympic gold medal in Paris, where she was named tournament MVP. It wasn't a hit at me because
Of course, I do have to support Wilson in her own defense. She vehemently and passionately defended her own incredibly illustrious career, powerfully proclaiming, "I'm going to do me regardless. I'm going to win the MVP. I will win a gold medal. Y'all can't shake my resume." She then tried to clarify that her comments weren't intended as a personal hit against Clark, but were born from a broader, more profound concern for the league's very identity and history. This powerful moment of self-assertion really highlighted her deep-seated frustration with what she perceived as a glaring lack of recognition for her own unparalleled success, which stood in such sharp contrast to the overwhelming, all-consuming media attention that was being focused on Clark.
This blah 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 blah. And it goes on to say, the 2025 WNBA campaign provided a measure of vindication of many players, despite Caitlin Clark missing most of the season with an injury. Something Wilson, to be clear, did not cheer viewership for both the regular season or postseason, which was up 5%, 6%. Now, we did a video a couple months ago telling you how they was cheating the viewership. They made some changes in the viewership to the WNBA viewership to not make it look like they took a hit. Guys, they took a hit. They was counting views that they normally wouldn't count.
So what did you type to find this? Probably Caitlin Clark, because her real fear, as Wilson explained it, was that the league was in danger of losing its roots, its culture, and its history. She expressed a genuine dismay that this vital foundation, laid by so many, was being systematically erased from the conversation, and she made a point to emphasize the countless women who built the WNBA from the ground up long before Clark's arrival ever became a headline. For Wilson, this wasn't just about viewership numbers or ticket sales. It was about honoring the pioneers, acknowledging the struggle, and preserving preserving the enduring legacy of all those who forged the path that today's players walk on. In her eyes, she was fighting for the very soul of the league as she saw it. "It wasn't a hit at me," she said. Wilson seemed to find some vindication for her argument in the results of the 2025 WNBA campaign, noting that viewership for both the regular season and the playoffs actually rose by a solid 5 to 6%. And here's the kicker: this happened despite Caitlin Clark missing most of the season due to a significant injury. This, she argued, was the ultimate proof that the league's growth was completely independent of any single player, and it directly countered the entire Clark effect narrative. "This was just a matter of time," Wilson confidently declared, asserting that the league's upward trajectory was not only inevitable but also sustainable without having to rely on a singular superstar figure. However, in a shocking revelation that completely flips this narrative on its head, our sources indicate that the WNBA may have been actively manipulating its own viewership numbers specifically to maintain this very narrative of independent growth. Insiders have reported significant changes in how the league calculated its views, allegedly counting impressions and views that normally wouldn't be counted in order to subsidize the massive hit the league took after Clark's injury. If this turns out to be true, it suggests that the reported increase may not reflect reality at all. We could be looking at a massive cover-up. According to our own in-depth analysis, the viewership essentially died the moment Clark went down, having played in only 13 games. Without her on the court, the hype, the energy, and the viewership just faded away, and it happened incredibly quickly. And to add another layer to all of this, our expert believes that A'ja Wilson shouldn't have even won Athlete of the Year in the first place, citing a pattern of controversial referee decisions that allegedly helped her team, the Las Vegas Aces, throughout the entire season. This includes a particularly key game against the Indiana Fever that directly contributed to their championship run. If these claims hold any weight, it casts a significant shadow over Wilson's achievements and raises questions about the legitimacy of her celebrated season. This whole controversy, according to our insider, really isn't about race at its core. Caitlin Clark is, simply put, a generational basketball talent, the kind that comes along once in a blue moon. Any attempts to frame this issue in other terms are seen as calculated distractions from the core issue, which is really about popularity, measurable impact, and the metrics that drive growth. The consistent, almost relentless criticism of Clark by members of the league leadership and certain influential media outlets is now being viewed as a deliberate and deeply damaging campaign, one that is actively creating animosity and division instead of fostering the unity the league desperately needs. And here's a fascinating twist. Despite her unbelievable fame and media presence, Caitlin Clark didn't even crack Google's top 10 most searched athletes of 2025. What's even more shocking is that only one WNBA player managed to make that list, and it wasn't who you'd expect. It was Sophie Cunningham, coming in at number 7. This data unexpectedly positions her, at least by that specific metric, as the most popular and searched for women's basketball player of the year, a result nobody saw coming. At the same time, whispers about Clark's physical transformation also began to surface throughout the season. Observers noted a significant amount of weight loss and a visible reduction in muscle mass, which some have begun to speculate may have directly contributed to the injuries that plagued her rookie year. You have to wonder if Clark had managed to stay healthy and if she had led the Indiana Fever on a magical run to a championship. WNBA content and engagement would be at record-breaking astronomical highs right now. Instead, the league finds itself at a standstill, holding its breath and waiting to see if she can ever return to that same level of Iowa-level dominance that made her a global icon. The bitterness directed toward Clark from some corners of the league remains undeniably palpable. It's a strange situation where, despite A'ja Wilson's own incredible success and her championship ring, she can't seem to stop talking about Caitlin Clark. Fans are growing increasingly frustrated by this dynamic, feeling like the league is actively tearing down its biggest and brightest star instead of using her gravity to elevate absolutely everyone. The WNBA is truly at a crossroads, an organization that desperately needs unity to capitalize on this moment, but is instead plagued by deep-seated internal conflict. The anticipation for Caitlin Clark's return to the court is absolutely massive. It's not just fans of the Fever, it's the entire sports world. People believe she'll come back with a vengeance and completely dominate, assuming, of course, that a potential lockout doesn't derail the entire season. Her comeback isn't just about playing basketball anymore, it's about salvaging the league's momentum and defining its future for years to come. So where does the WNBA possibly go from here? Is this intense conflict really about protecting a hard-earned legacy, or is it about undermining a phenomenon that some feel threatened by? The answer to that question is unclear, but one thing is for certain: the future of the entire league hangs in the balance. 39.1s